Hey everyone, welcome to the Eat, Pray, Faith podcast. I'm Dr. Tracey, and today I have a very special guest, and I feel I have become a good friend. I think I talk to you
Yes,
on Brendan all the time.
yes, we have.
But today we're going to be talking about flipping the script in the nutraceutical industry, and we're actually going to talk about a few topics. First, we're going to talk about the observational trial that we ran together with MD Bio, your brand, and how successful that was. I was kind of incredibly impressed with the
Yeah.
outcome of your formulas with my clients. And then you have a new business that you're going to be talking about at the end of this podcast. So, guys, stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss that, especially the wives with husbands with sleep apnea. So, please hang on. So, Brendan, it's so nice to meet you. I would like you just to give an introduction of yourself and your brand, MD Bio, for our audience, a little bit of background, and how did you come to, being an owner of a brand and trying to change the health industry?
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. I really appreciate coming on this podcast and speaking to your listeners and your following. My background, it's a convoluted starting in finance and ending up in consumer health along the journey, going through consumer products and government contracting and all around, but really honing this concept of building companies and it was building companies along the way. I've been a serial entrepreneur for the past roughly 15 years. And so building companies in technology, building companies in consumer products again. And eventually coming into the health and wellness space when I moved, I'm originally from Chicago, moved to the West Coast where you can't go anywhere without the latest trend coming at you from health and wellness. And so started picking up clients and from a consulting perspective that way, and ending up in the cannabis space and really the medicinal cannabis space, and seeing what that herb or that plant was actually doing for oncology patients, was doing for some severely sick individuals and patients, and it was pretty mind blowing to see that. And as I was transitioning kind of out of some of those brands or really into that space, I met four incredible doctors out of UCLA. And they're the four real founders of MD Bio. I'm the CEO and have been for 6 years, kind of helping build the vision and create that and kind of come to life what this grand goal was. And their goal, which was roughly 10 years ago, was when they looked in their practices, again, they see a lot of oncology patients, but they also see just chronically ill patients, was what supplementation, what nutraceutical out there, because holistic medicine, they wanted to bring that into the UCLA system. They knew they're four Persian doctors, and they grew up, if they had inflammation, it was turmeric that they would take, right? That their grandmother would make them a tea with turmeric. And so they had that background originally, but then were trained in the highest of Western medicine, right? So you get this really nice dichotomy. And so I love that story. I loved who they are. They're incredible humans. But they said, look, these work, but where's the data behind them working? Because we want to bring them in. And so they brought all these supplement companies in, and a lot of the data that the supplement companies were talking to them about was sales and marketing data. This many people rebuy our product, right? This many people, this is how many units we sell per month. Well, that doesn't talk about the efficacy of the product, right? That just says you've got great branding and marketing and you've got a
Right.
fantastic sales team, right? So their goal is, how do we create pharmaceutical alternatives? How do we get people off of Zolpidem, Ambien, Lunesta, from a sleep perspective? How do we get people off SSRIs through a holistic way? How to do that? If you're going to create a pharma alternatives, you have to run big pharma studies on natural products. And that was the big vision that I met them when it was an idea, and then we that came to life. So over roughly I've been doing it for 6 years, but the first 3 years was building the technology to bring in large swaths of a big patient population, to then test them, to then try different formulations. We created all of our own formulations in pain, sleep, and anxiety. And we chose pain, sleep, and anxiety because those are really the three, in our opinion, and in their opinion, the three biggest issues that the general population suffer from. Because if someone can sleep better, if they have less pain, if they have less anxiety, right? There's a lot of tertiary, secondary ailments and issues that come from that. right? And so if you could go treat that and help alleviate those symptoms and those conditions, you've done the best work. So we went for sleep pain and anxiety. We tested lots of different formulations. The majority of them were worthless, right? The majority, we would bring people in and they just weren't effective. And finally, we tested two formulations on each different indication, sleep pain and anxiety, that were really effective for these chronically ill patients. People who had been on Ambien for a decade, we were able to create protocols for them to finally get off, and it was completely life-changing. That was fantastic, right? So we
Yeah.
ran these observational trials in-house, kind of what we did with you, Tracey, and we'll go over those results. But that was the nexus of the business is testing, it's trialing, it's data, it's transparency, it's all the things that we wanted, that they wanted in a supplement business, that they wanted from, they didn't want to build a supplement business. They wanted to just work with one, right?
Yeah.
And when they couldn't find one, it was, well, let's build one, right? And that was, and from there we ran the largest clinical trials in U.S. history on pain, sleep, and anxiety. Just over 4,000 people we've tested in double-blind randomized clinical trials. So I can go deep in that, but that's the kind of the story of how where we've come from.
No, I didn't know the history of that with MD Bio and that you have your founders are actually physicians. I was, stalking the website and whatnot, and I did see them, but I didn't realize the relevance of who they were. So I think it's fascinating because when I met you, one of the things that I said on my video when I was telling people, like, hey, I just met this brand, we want to do an observational trial. And really, it was to bring validity to the alternative health industry where we're telling people, like, hey, supplements matter, they count.
Yeah.
First, they have to be quality, right? We have to make sure
Yeah.
that what we're taking is actually in the bottle, that it's pure, that it's, there's studies with efficacy on it. And you were willing to do all the work. You were like, hey, if you send us your people, we will put them through this trial, we'll give them the product, and we'll take the data and we'll bring it back to you. And I was kind of blown away because I was like, wow, people actually did feel better, and a lot of people, the majority
Yeah.
of the people that completed the study had massive improvement, like significant reduction in pain, significant improvement in sleep, significant improvement in their mood. So I was really impressed and I was really fortunate that, to be able to do that with you. So really awesome.
We love, I mean, that's the transparency aspect that we wanted to create from the ethos of the brand, right? Is if we work with a wonderful practitioner like yourself, Tracey, and again, everything is modeled off of, if you go into this brand is modeled off of, if you go into your favorite doctor's office, and what are the traits of your favorite doctor, right? They're empathetic, they're knowledgeable, right? And they're tenacious to figuring out what the root cause of your issues are, right? They listen and they don't push you out the door. That's luckily who our doctors are. And so we grab that ethos and put that in the business. And so why that's so important is because that last part of that tenacity of figuring out what is most effective for the patient, everyone is personalized, right? Again, when we run these big studies, and you said the majority had a positive effect to it, but that's still 58%, right? In yours, it was higher. In yours, 80% on the sleep side were improved, right? But again, that's a 10-day study. And when we do the big clinicals that's the real, concrete, bulletproof scientific data, it ends up being 58%. So if one great product can do 58%, well, what about the other 42% of the population, right? They won't see the effect of this product. And so how do we find another blend that's effective for them? How do we find the next medication? Because when you go into that office with that doctor, what do? They give you a medication and they don't say, see you later. Good luck, right?
Hey,
They
good luck.
say,
Hope it works.
yeah, exactly. They say, here's the dosing mechanism. Here's how many I think you should take, and call me in 2 weeks. Call my office and let's talk about it. Is it effective or not? And if it's not effective, let's find the next medication that will be effective for them. So that we parallel a lot of that within the business. And so offering these little studies for you and your cohort or your patients, it's actually the same thing you would do if you're doling out pharmaceuticals in your office. And what I mean by that is if you're an MD and if you have pharmaceuticals, a pharmaceutical rep comes to you and they have bulletproof data, right? That's what the whole FDA approval and what you go through. You still don't just give it to all of your patients, at once. You start by a couple patients. You say, this month, someone has, say it's a high blood pressure medication. I'll give it to a couple people and see how that works. A couple, right? And then next month, if that's working, then I'll do a couple more. And then let's see which cohort's most effective for. And now you're kind of doing your own little trials. Every practitioner does their own little trials. And what we said is, let's take the guesswork out of it. We'll just do it for you. Right? We'll run these studies for you very quickly, very efficiently, so that you can get the data back, and I can give you the data on your cohort. So again, just mimicking that doctor office that you wish your office, probably your clinic is like this, right? But the majority of Americans don't have doctors that are that invested in their health.
Yeah. Or in outcomes, right?
In
Some
outcomes.
practitioners, they just are given the meds. And I always say that the psychiatric and women's health are probably the two most, I don't want to say abused, but I'll say it, abused areas of medicine, because neither one of them really do a lot of testing before they dose out the pharmaceuticals, and they're just hoping for a great result. That can also be said that there's not a lot of research behind what we do. And so it's because the FDA doesn't really want to look at nutraceuticals as drugs. They're not classified. They're actually classified as food, just so people are aware
Yeah.
here. So there are no FDA trials over all of the nutraceutical blends and brands. And especially for a brand, you may use raw ingredients that have some studies on them. But when you put those into a comprehensive formula, in order for you to prove efficacy, for you to prove, not a lot of brands are willing to invest the time in a clinical trial. So the observational was a really good idea because it allowed people to try it, to give real time feedback. Like you said, it was a smaller segment. It wasn't like the big one that you guys did. But
Yeah.
for those people that it helped, you changed the lives of, in my particular case, 60 some percent of the clientele that participated. That's a huge deal. And as a practitioner, it gave me confidence in your product. So, for people listening today, the point of this podcast is really to give you some avenues where you can get products that actually have validity behind them, that we together vetted in real time in an observational trial. And we have real results that we're going to talk about today. And then I would like to go through each product with you just to give us why it works, right? What
Yeah.
are the raw ingredients within there that you have found in synergy have worked the best for people, and what you've picked? So let's just kind of run through the data. So just to let everybody know, I think this happened way back in July, uh,
Yep.
when the sun was shining and people actually felt good, but a lot of people didn't. And I think we had around, I don't know, 70 people that actually clicked the link and opted in to this observational trial that we were doing. And we offered three categories: the MD sleep, the MD calm, and the MD, is it MD pain, correct?
MD relief is the pain one,
Really,
correct?
yeah. And so what happened was they would opt in, and then Brendan's team came in with questionnaires. Where's your pain level now? They received a 10-day supply of whichever product they picked. So if they had mood, anxiety, or if they couldn't sleep, or if they had pain, they received that particular product. And then Brendan's team would actually stay in touch with these people and gather data throughout a period of time. And what was the actual period of time where data was collected? Because I know there was a few people that started late and
Yeah, it ended up it we try and keep it in a nice closed window. But a lot of times there's stragglers coming in and we don't want to not bring them in and enroll them. So it ends up being about 30 days
okay.
that the whole study takes from all. I think you mentioned it. You had roughly 75. I think 60% of them ended up completing on average on all three studies. So it takes about 30 days to get people through all of those, that study. And just to note on the study design is 10 days is short, right? 10 days is very short actually to run a quick study. On our big clinicals, we ran 30-day studies. But 10 days is enough, as we know from our clinicals, is enough for the first drop in symptoms, which usually take about 3 days on average on natural products. And then it's another 7 days of dosing titration, getting the right personalization for each consumer, so that by the end of the 10th day, we want day 7, 8, 9, and 10 to find the best effect for them. Right.
Okay.
And the number one response we always get from these trials that we run, and we run a lot of these trials, is why isn't it longer? Right. And it's
Then you want
I'm
more
just
free
seeing
product. That's
results.
what they
Yeah,
want.
I'm just seeing results. Well, that's the, we're running a business as well. So we want to show you how effective this
Absolutely.
can be, and then, you have the option to come in. So sorry, I just want to add that on the
No,
structure.
that's great. And I know your team worked with people to adjust dosages, which was awesome. So it worked. I'm actually going to bring the study up that you gave me, the completed PDF. And I'm going to ask
Great.
just to walk through it for people, just so you're aware. We are going to segment out this part of the video and post it so everyone can see it. But if you want to see the whole study, I'm happy to post the link in the bio. So this was the MD Sleep Botanical, and I'm just going to let you run through these numbers if you don't mind and what you did with the study.
Yeah, so again on the study design, just to give you guys the full breadth of it. So I mentioned we drop ship the product to them. We get them going, and they have two options that they can use. So and we ask them to do whichever one is most comfortable, but we allow them to. One is a subjective. So every day we ask them to answer just very quickly 20-second questionnaire, which is really 5 questions, right? On sleep quality, on wake ups, on how they're feeling, right? Or they can connect their biometric data. So if they have a wearable, if they're wearing an Apple Watch, a Fitbit, a Garmin, any of them, an Oura Ring, we actually with their consent, and if they connect it to us, we can get their biometric data and show them how much more REM sleep, how much more deep sleep, right? And we can go off of their baseline, because when we get that information, we can see before they've taken the product and then after. So this data that we're receiving is incredibly rich, that we have. And you see here on this 43% average reduction. So if you look on the bottom left, or it's just down a little bit, the average baseline symptom was 8.1 out of 10. So out of 10, on average, your patients that wanted to improve their sleep were roughly an 8.1 out of 10, which that's severe symptoms, right? That's lots of wake ups. That's sleep duration is very low. Um, Within 10 days, getting them down 43 points to a 4.7 on average again, that's a nice drop in 10 days, right?
Right.
So if you can extrapolate that data and continue down off of 30 days and then 60 days, you can kind of see, and our clinical show that too, is the longer you're on our products, the better you're doing, right? That's the difference. I have to tell you, when we talk about flipping the script on nutraceuticals, that's the difference between an effective product and an ineffective product. An ineffective product, you'll still see a big drop. That's the placebo effect. So if you believe in the brand, if you believe in the packaging, if you believe in what you bought into, right, your brain is going to drop, and your symptoms are going to vanish for the first couple days, right? And depending on your belief system, it'll stay for a while. And so that's why when people say, "Oh, I tried this and it was effective," and then it wasn't effective, well, that's your brain actually. That's the placebo effect happening. An effective product keeps those therapeutic results going and then also gets better over time, right? So
Nice.
that's kind of the difference there. But yeah, uh, 59% completed, 34 people enrolled, or patients enrolled in this one, and 20 completed. And then 80% of participants saw symptoms improved in some capacity, right?
Right. So 20 people completed the MD sleep. They took it for all 10 days, and 16 out of the 20 people improved.
Correct.
That's great stats. So if someone is struggling with sleep right now, there's actual data right here that says, you could have a 43% increase in the quality of your sleep, according to this overall.
In 10 days, which is great,
Right. In
right?
10 days, right.
And to me, that's the beautiful thing of this is in 10 days, if you can, and again, the data's not here for this, but just an example is if you wake up 6 times a night because you're someone who wakes up a lot, and that goes down to 3, that's life changing, right?
Mm.
You're not tossing and turning as much. That changes everything for you. So there's a really good snapshot of the beginning of what the therapeutic effect can be on MD sleep.
Yeah, and some of the testimonials that were on here, my sleep, it's my sleep seemed to gradually improve each night. Another person said as a night shift nurse, so that's usually a big deal for people at work nights, right? She realized that she noticed a difference in her sleep quality when she was able to sleep and duration. And, an easy one, I loved how it helped me. So this is across the board improvements, and almost for the people that completed, 20 of them, 16 out of 20 had improvement. So that's pretty awesome.
Tracy, we work with a lot of CEOs and people who travel a lot,
Hmm.
right? And people who travel a lot are moving between time zones, right? And for them, having something that actually puts them to sleep, we actually work with a lot of people who travel internationally a lot, and they need to fall asleep on that plane, and they need to go to sleep and not feel the side effects of I need to take an Ambien when I wake up, I'm groggy, and I need to be in that meeting tomorrow, right? And so those are the things that are fantastic on a natural product. Is if it can actually get you to sleep, you won't get the side effects the next day, which is what we see here.
Absolutely. You can eat all the kale you want, work out every day, 100% organic, but if you're not sleeping, you're not going to feel good.
That's right.
So we're going to move to the next one. This was the MD Calm. So this was for mood, anxiety. So I'll let you go over these study results.
Yeah, this was a fantastic result. Smaller cohort, right? So a lot more. So the power of the study is lower, but again, this mimics a little bit more of our bigger scale trial where we had roughly 2,000 people in our clinicals. So again, this study is a small snapshot of a bigger one that we've ever run. So 10 people finished a 48% average reduction in symptoms. So almost 50% of your symptoms are gone, right? After 10 days. That's fantastic. And every single person that completed saw symptoms improved.
Yeah, 100% symptoms improve. So this was a good one. And, 70% of the people said, I would totally use this product again. So this was kind of an easier because it was like, hey, everybody felt better. So we felt good about this one.
And I'll tell you, let me tell you a little bit of how we made this product too.
Hmm.
Is the design aspect of this product isn't to be, there's a lot of calm products out there that is an alternative to a glass of wine, right? At night, is an alternative to a wine down at the end of the night. We've actually built the MD Calm to be taken in the morning so that so you don't spike cortisol throughout the day. It's non-drowsy, so it's not going to put you to sleep. Now, if you take it at night, it'll probably help you go to sleep. It does help you go to sleep. It's clinically proven to help you go to sleep better, but that's because you've gone through the whole day, right? And your circadian rhythm, you're at the end of it. So it is designed, this product is designed to be taken, and almost everyone takes it in the morning or in the early afternoon. Again, to stop those spikes in anxiety, to stop those spikes in cortisol levels. Um,
Yeah, very interesting. So I'm gonna make you break down all the ingredients in all these products. All right.
Great.
So MD Relief, this was for pain. So I'll let you go through the result snapshot.
Yeah, this one's double the size of the other study. This is more like the sleep study, about 60% completed. For again, that 42 average reduction of symptom severity. So, your pain actually started a little bit higher on average in 8.4 out of 10. I mean, that's
Mm.
severe chronic pain.
Yeah.
And 8.4, if your doctor says, what are you out of 10? And they say 8, that's a severely chronic issue. And that's a big pain issue. So if you drop by 42 points in just 10 days, that changes your life. And again, 90% of participants saw their symptoms improve, which was fantastic.
Yeah, they dropped from 8.4 out of 10 to 4.9 out of 10. So half, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
that's huge. And I actually was talking to one of the people that went through the study, and she's still a client of mine. There were people that are in my care that went through the study and people that aren't. And she is still on this product and she still loves it. And she said it has helped her tremendously. So again, this was the MD Relief that we're talking about for pain.
Pain's the hardest one to dial in from a personal perspective. I think pain is the most personal of all of the indications. And this is really where our health improvement program or our tracking program. So we do this with every bottle we sell. So with every bottle we sell of our products, you actually go through your own mini study. You scan a QR code on the top,
Nice.
and so for 30 days, we run pretty much our own studies on every single consumer that buys the product if they opt in to do it. And
Right.
again, that's all the wearable data comes into play here. The subjective data comes in, the questionnaires that come into play. And again, that's for our team as well to understand, are you getting better or not? Is this effective for you or not? And what we found when we do this at scale with our customers is that it's the pain one that we engage with the most. because the patient's, again, pain is so personalized, right? And the severity comes and goes in different levels. And so it requires more of a heavy hand from us. So we reach out to our customers. We track that data. We see that data. And if you aren't getting better, if you are flatlining, we actually proactively reach out to you. We help you dose, titrate. Think of us as your digital health coach along the way. And we actually do this through text messages or in phone calls. And if it's not effective, again, we have multiple blends that can be effective. And before we go into the ingredient side, I just want to put an example here because this example comes up all the time. Is someone comes in for a sleep product, right? And this actually probably happened in your study as well. They sign up for the sleep product, they buy it, or they get it for free in the study, and they start going through, and it's not that effective for them, right? And so we call them up after a couple days, 4 days, which is usually our protocol if they're not getting better, and we say, hey, let's figure out dosing, titration, maybe some lifestyle changes that might help with this. And after about 10 days, again in the longer study, if that's not effective, we do a product swap. And on sleep, the biggest product swap we do is between sleep and anxiety. Why?
Really?
Because those two are so interconnected with each other, right? Someone thinks they have a sleep issue, but really they have an anxiety cortisol level. And the single question we ask them is, when you go to sleep, when you're laying in bed, is it your brain racing? Or is your brain clear and your body just can't relax and go to bed? And if you can't stay asleep, if you can't stay asleep, that's a sleep problem. If your mind is clear but your body just can't fall asleep, that's a sleep problem, right? But if your mind is just racing and you can't get it to stop, that's an anxiety problem. That's a stress problem, right?
Mm.
And so that's why our MD Calm product, our stress product, is actually clinically proven to help sleep. Because
Nice.
again, it stops that brain, it stops the cortisol levels, it stops the racing brain, and that puts you to sleep.
Right. And it's important to ask those questions. Like when I talk about sleep, I'm like, do you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep?
Yeah.
You go to sleep, do you wake up to use the bathroom? Do you sleep through the night? So it does make a difference. So I love that you guys have thought that through. So let's just get into the products a little bit, just kind of high level. You said the sleep formula was kind of put together differently. So why don't you give us a little bit of insight on that? What are the key ingredients and why do you feel they work so well in synergy?
Yeah, I mean, we have two different blends on the products, right? And so we've got a full spectrum hemp blend, and I'll go into a little bit of detail of why we did that. And we have a non-hemp blend, just a botanical blend as well. Both in studies are incredibly effective, one not more than the other. It's a personalized, it's personal, right? And so we do find that we swap a lot. Some people will start with the hemp blend. It's not that effective. We give them botanical, and it is. And it goes back to 58% of people, right, on this product will find it effective. Well, what about the other 42? You've got to have something else for them. So what we put in the hemp product, the first blend, is full spectrum hemp. And then we put in GABA, L-theanine, valerian, and hops. And so different modalities within the body, right? Different pathways, I guess, within the body that we're trying to push with you, or trying to treat and help out and strengthen. The full spectrum hemp is a homeostasis, right? If patients know about hemp, the whole concept is the endocannabinoid system, which is that like little tiny. We consider it, instead of pulling one big lever, it's pushing a lot of little buttons. Right? It's keeping all of the little things working on the cellular level and in the systems level. So that's again, your all of the sleeping functions as well. It supports that. The hops and the valerian is more of a physical, right? Hops is a good example. Hops is in beer. There's a reason why after you have a beer, you get sleepy. Part of it's the alcohol, but also part of it is the hops in it. There's a really funny anecdote is in manufacturing, when people are manufacturing hop supplement, they can only do it for so long and they fall asleep at the table because it is so effective, right?
I want that job. Can I have that
Yeah,
job?
yeah,
Why apply?
yeah. There's a lot of coffee being drank at that job to stay awake. Um, and then GABA, GABA is something that we naturally produce in our bodies, and so that's strengthening that. And it's clinic proven that valerian, GABA and L-theanine together are more effective in combination than they are apart, right? So when we think of our hemp blend, it's a very core product. It's a blend again, And in no way do we consider ourselves a hemp company or even a cannabis company like that. That is, to us, hemp is just as effective. Full spectrum hemp is just as effective as the GABA. We don't weight it anymore. And in fact, in our clinicals, this is actually what blew us away from a science perspective. Is we assumed when we first crafted these products that the full spectrum hemp would be the most therapeutic ingredient. So one of our products had more hemp, less botanicals. The other one had more botanicals, less hemp. The one with more hemp wasn't better than a placebo pill. It didn't beat placebo. The other one was what we have today on the market, which is very effective and
Hmm.
was clinically proven. So what we liked about that,
So
what
you
the
found the
learnings
one with the more botanicals was more effective.
exactly,
Okay.
which then enlightened us to then create the botanical only product,
Right. So that's
right?
interesting. Yeah.
Because we found that it was the botanicals that was the driving therapeutic factor, and our results are actually published in a peer-reviewed science journal called Nutrients, and it's that concept that was published. This concept of the
Wow.
botanicals is actually the driving factor, which throws on its head an entire industry of hemp and CBD and CBC and all of those. It
Yeah.
kind of it adds to that story. So we're happy to add to that story without, poo-pooing any of,
Oh, yeah, right.
what's come
Exactly.
before it.
And I think that's what happened in our industry too, right? When CBD hit the market, even if it was just, full spectrum hemp, everybody wanted it and it was the magic pill for
It was
everything.
everywhere.
And while it has its massive benefits, things aren't meant to be taken alone. I mean, even the entire earth works in synergy from one plant to another. So to think
Yeah.
that we could just take one thing, it would work for a while. Like you said, maybe the placebo effect, maybe you did have a deficiency in the endocannabinoid system, but once that was filled, that might have not been the root cause of whatever issue you were having, was that particular deficiency. So that's kind of how I explained it to my people, because everybody and their grandfather wanted hemp. Now you can find it in gas stations. So again, we're going back to the quality.
Yes.
Make sure you get it from a trusted source like your practitioner. That's really important because they're going to select quality brands such as yours to distribute and have available for their patients. So,
And, and look, we think about this, and I don't want to get too deep in this because it can get so scientific on this side. But I think what really excites us when we learn about this is, there's also this concept between isolates, right, and full spectrum. So you can get a CBD isolate, and that's what was the craze, was the isolate side. But when we were talking to, really, he's the foremost researcher in all plant medicine. His name's Dr. Didi Meri out of the Institute of Technion in Israel, in Tel Aviv. And he has the most rich data on all hemp and cannabis in the world, that at his fingertips. And what he found was he was able to subset populations, put everyone through the same massive trials, 10,000, 20,000 people in these trials, but give them slightly different chains of phytocannabinoids. Some had CBD in them, some had CBC in them. But what he found was the most therapeutic phytocannabinoid usually isn't the majors that we know. It's the ones that we actually don't know. So his theory is full spectrum, and this is in all plant medicine, is actually more effective always than an isolate can be, because there's so many more chemicals and we just don't know how the human body picks all of that up. It's just impossible to know how 180 phytochemicals react to every single symptom in the body. So
we go back to, we're not going to really get the studies on it as much as we would like. So, I agree. I like the full spectrum more than the
yeah,
isolate. And, just for the reasons you were saying, the endocannabinoid system, as small and intricate as it is, it's kind of like the tree of life of the body. So it has
that
many different, cannabinoid receptor sites, and we don't know which one you have a deficiency in. So making sure you fulfill them all is good.
correct.
So your botanical, a little bit different with the MD sleep. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
So that we took the primaries, which the primaries, again, if you take out the full spectrum hemp, is the GABA, the L-theanine. We boosted those up, obviously. The hops and valerian, we boosted those up as well. But then we added just some more botanicals that we know are effective individually through clinical trials. Not that we ran, but others have run on on each ingredient. So lemon balm extract, and we had passion flower, chamomile, 5-HTP. So again, we're just boosting up the botanical side of the product. And again, based on our research, it's showing us that the botanical is the side to boost up, right? And so that's what we did on that product, is take all the powerhouse ingredients that we had in the first blend and
Mm.
just help with a few other ones, right? To And the other side is we built a complex, and so what our formulators did really eloquently is they tried to mimic the bioterpenes in
Yeah, I saw
in
that.
hemp, right? So there's this concept which is kind of vague to think about, but it's called a lock and a key system, right? For hemp, the terpenes they help unlock, right, and allow your receptors to take in the endocannabinoids. That's what terpenes allow them to do. So we took that same concept and said, let's build out a terpene complex that mimics the endocannabinoid system, that mimics what's in a hemp plant, and put that into our product. But it has nothing to do with hemp, right? There's no hemp in there. There's nothing from that plant.
So they have a choice. It's awesome.
You have a choice.
Yeah. Well, it's really a unique formula. And I love how you kind of were saying, like, it's not an at night formula. You can take it through the day so that your body has the right circadian rhythms, responding. So,
And that's the calm product. The calm product you for
oh, I'm
sure can
sorry.
take during the day. The sleep
Okay.
product,
You
don't
take
take
it
it
night.
during the
Don't take
day.
it during the day. Don't
You
operate heavy
will
machinery. No, I'm
do
just
exactly. That is a drowsy. We are trying to put you to
it's
sleep
gonna
with that
knock you out.
product.
All right.
Yeah,
You're gonna send me a bottle of that for my husband, right?
of
Yeah.
course.
Well,
Of
let's get
course.
to the MD pain, the MD relief product. I
Yeah.
was looking through and there were some of the, I mean, obviously turmeric and again, you did the bioterpene complex again, probably for
Yeah.
a different pathway, but you're
Yeah.
still utilizing that in the botanical. But what is I don't even know how to say this one ingredient. How do you pronounce the Jerry? Go ahead.
You go ahead and try that one.
Oh
It's
no.
we just call it GG oil.
Oh, okay. So you don't know either. That's okay, as long as neither one of us know how to pronounce it.
It's there's probably 15 letters in that word. I'll
Yeah, we'll
let
try
that go.
it.
It's the shorthand is GG oil or GG
Okay.
Gold.
Do
And that's a branded product or a branded ingredient because they've run large scale clinicals on that raw
Mhm.
ingredient and prove that um, in their own clinicals that they were able to decrease general pain. And so what we want to do is say, look, here, let's boost all this up with a single ingredient that has its own clinicals, and
Yeah.
and again boost everything else we're doing with the white willow bark that everyone knows of, right? The turmeric that everyone knows of, and really
Mhm.
bring in another ingredient that's well documented, newer. It's definitely a newer ingredient, but it's at this point becoming well documented to be effective for general pain. So that's why we
Wow.
added that ingredient in there. Um, and then of course we built complexes on top of that. So a full relief complex, as you can see with poppy seed extract. So
Yeah, and the GG Gold, I mean, it does more than just, I mean, replenishes CoQ10, K12, skeletal
mhm.
muscle proteins, looks like a natural pain reliever, such as the white willow extract, and works like aspirin to reduce inflammation. So I can't tell you how many people still are taking aspirin, and I'm like, but it's an amazing combination. And then,
I'll tell you the primary person that uses this product that we see very effectively. There's actually a lot of women's health that uses endometriosis. We see anecdotally a lot of women that have endometriosis try our product. I was at a conference last year, and this practitioner she said, "This is a fantastic company, but I have to go. I'm in pain, and hopefully I'll be able to come back tomorrow to the conference." We said, "Well, just try our product, right?" And she's tried everything, comes back 20 minutes later and says, "I'm staying because I took your product and my endometriosis pain has alleviated," which was fantastic. But we see that time and again. But the rheumatoid arthritis or arthritis
mm,
patients, right? We actually see that a lot. So even my parents are on this for arthritis. Our doctor's parents are on this for arthritis and aches and joint pain. So there's a lot of older population that has that chronic pain are using this product very effectively.
wow. Very awesome. I love it. And then, and by the way, if anyone sees these products, the packaging is beautiful. So those are little things.
Thank you.
I like how they look on my shelf. All right, let's talk about the final product, your MD Calm, and
Yep.
what ingredients you have in there. Right now, we're talking about the botanicals, but assuming, we can go back and talk about the hemp product too for people that want that. But this looks
Sure.
like it has some, you know, pretty well known
Yeah.
calming nutrients, magnesium, ashwagandha, reishi mushrooms. And then there's a calm complex and also the bioterpene complex. So why don't you go through this formulation and let us know what the magic is here?
Yeah, look, I think before going to like the raw ingredients, what I want to say is the studies that we ran, it's not that you'll look at our ingredients and say, oh my God, what this is a new ingredient I've never seen before, maybe the GG Gold, but almost everything
Going to
is,
pronounce.
yeah, exactly. Everything else is kind of known, especially to the functional space. That people look at this product and they say, I take magnesium every day, right?
Mhm.
Or I take ashwagandha every day. But it's again, it's in the study of we tried a lot of formulations with all of these, and it's the blend ratios. So what makes a blend effective and non-effective is just ratios and how you build those ratios out, right? Because again, all the ones that failed had the same ingredient list, right? But
Okay.
the ratios were wrong. So that's the kind of scientific work that has to be done on a blend. That again becomes costly and timely, and we invested time, money, and effort into that, but doesn't get done very often. So yeah, so it's the reishi mushroom, the mint, the lavender, the magnesium, the ashwagandha. Um, those are kind of the primaries that we run with on the sleep side,
Yeah.
or sorry, the calm
On
side.
the calm side. And then how
Yeah.
do you recommend? Let's just go back through the formulas. What about the MD relief? How do you recommend that product is taken? And then just go down the list.
We usually say almost on all of our products, we say start with two to three, depending on severity, symptoms. We're actually coming out with something really exciting here in the next 4 weeks, which is predictive modeling. As a company that has probably some of the most rich data in the entire supplement space on outcome data and demographic data, we've been able to create help tech allow us to predict what's effective for you. So Tracey, in a couple of weeks, I don't know if I'm uh
Ready to talk about it yet?
yeah, but we
Don't say, my people, they're going to be calling your office.
but it's the whole concept here again is take the guesswork out of it because we have the data to support that. So how many you should take, right? Which blend you should take, and when they'll become effective for you, when you'll see optimal changes in your therapeutic levels. That can be predicted based on the large scale data we've run. Again, when you run the largest in history on pain, sleep, and anxiety, if you
Right.
take that data and you analyze it in a very smart way, you can create these predictive models for people. Again, never seen before in the supplement space,
Mhm.
but neither has the size of these trials, right? Neither has seen the investment done in each one of these blends. So we're doing some really cool things from a data perspective that will just help every consumer personalize this journey. And again, I go back to the doctor's office. Your favorite doctor is going to personalize the journey for you, right? And that's what we want to do. We want to personalize that at scale and hopefully be able to successfully show other companies how to do personalization at scale on a consumer therapeutic product.
Well, this is going to be amazing because it takes a lot of guesswork out of everything. And, that's one of the things that people will say is they want to make sure that what they're purchasing is going to be effective. And then they're always come back to, well, how much do I take and how long do I take it? So if you have that predictive modeling, that takes a lot of guesswork and puts confidence into your product. So this is big stuff. I don't know if people listening are really grasping like how impactful this is, what you have done with your trials and all of the things that you're coming out with. But as a practitioner, it gives me confidence in your product. As a consumer, this should really give them confidence in your product that you have actually taken the extra time, financial investment, and put this out there so that consumers can feel that what they're getting from you is safe and effective. Like it's probably the first time that we can actually use those two words together and actually.
Yeah, there's the concept of radical transparency,
Yeah.
right? Radical transparency is let me show you this data, and we just showed your data, right? And in no way do we say 100% of people found this effective. In no way do we say 100% of people, it went from an 8 to a 1, right? Because that's not real life. That's not real world, right? Anyone who says that, that's marketing claims and whatever. This is real science, right? And so I love learning from our failures, but I love kind of educating also on it's going to take time. And so that's part of the predictive model that I love too, is take our product versus maybe any other, is if I can tell you in 7 days, you're going to start seeing a 60% drop in your symptoms. And by day 35, you'll see optimal. And if I'm right, the trust there is so strong, opposed to I've taken this for 3 days, I don't see anything changing, so I'm going to throw the whole bottle away. That's kind of
Right.
the industry we're in, right? And so to be able to give a roadmap, a therapeutic roadmap off the jump, I think that's where the impactful piece comes for us.
Yep. Love it. Well, we're going to give people listening the opportunity to go through this again. And please apologize to your team because the last time we did this, there was a lot of people. Um,
Yeah.
so there's going to be a link in the show notes where you as a consumer, if you have pain, any type of anxiety and or sleep issues, can opt in to a 10-day product give to you and into this observational trial that's going to be completely run by Brendan's team over at MD Bio. So please expect to participate, to answer the questions that they send out to you. It's really important that they get data so that they can help you and just to have an open mind over this whole thing. So I appreciate that. And so that's our offer out of this podcast today. But there's one more thing that we promised everybody that you're going to share with us. And I'm kind of really excited that, you're kind of out there doing this. I have people in mind already to send to you, including my own family members. So give us a little insight of what's coming.
Yeah, so when we've distilled all of this down into to sleep, right? And sleep, as we've kind of talked a little bit on this podcast so far, is it's so complex. And to really solve sleep, even if you've got a clinically proven, safe pharma alternative supplement, again, only 58% of people see it effective. But you could take, even if it is effective for you, it doesn't solve the whole problem with sleep, right? We look at sleep at MD Bio, three different big buckets. There's sleep quality, there's insomnia, and then there's airway health. And if you don't solve all three, you're really not solving someone's sleep problem, right? So again, even if this is effective for me, but I snore, I stop breathing, which is sleep apnea, right? Your body's going to you're not breathing, so your body's waking you up throughout the night, right? And so this could be working effectively very well for you, but your body's waking you up from an airway health perspective. And so that's what we designed. And so we built a whole telehealth platform now, and it's called Sleep Corner. And so Sleep Corner is really a sleep clinic in a box. And what comes with this is two consultations with a board certified sleep physician. To put some stats here, it's kind of crazy. The reason why sleep hasn't really been solved is from a Western medical perspective. There's 90 million adult Americans who suffer from insomnia or sleep disorder. There's
Mhm.
only 7,500 licensed sleep physicians in the United States. So
Wow.
that
God
ratio,
grant them.
exactly, you'll never be able to solve it, right? So what
Yeah.
we decided is like, look, what can solve this is awareness and telehealth. So you don't, and making the whole process, boiling it down from what can take 6 months to go through a sleep study, seeing the specialist, seeing your GP. Eventually, if you want to go get a oral appliance to solve your sleep apnea, you then have to go to a dentist. You have to walk yourself through all of these, and so you can imagine why 90% of people fall off, right? But with a sleep corner, which is a sleep clinic in a box, it's all done from your home. It's all done within 10 days, and it's solved for pennies on the dollar of what that would cost. So between deductibles, copays, seeing specialists, it can cost thousands of dollars, even if you have insurance to go through that. So for our test, it's $219 and it's telehealth. So we ship you a box. In that box comes two consultations with a board certified sleep physician. You get your pre-consult, which is your meeting the physician, making sure that you are a good candidate. Again, if your husband, your bed partner, your wife snores, is tired throughout the day, that's a very good indication that they might have sleep apnea, right? So that's a very baseline, easy way to tell. And then in there also comes a home sleep test. So you see our doctor, they prescribe you the sleep test, which you already have in hand. You then take it. It's a one-night test with our partners over at Zoll with the WatchPat 1. It's a simple device. It looks like a watch. There's a pulse ox that gets put on your finger and a little node on that you just put on your chest to detect movement of your body. With that one night test, we can diagnose you with sleep apnea. So it's a medical diagnosis and screening tool. You then get a post consultation with that same physician to walk you through the results, to tell you exactly what happened that night, whether you have sleep apnea or not, how severe that sleep apnea is, and then what your treatment modality is or your treatment options. So for sleep apnea, there's 4 cleared, but there's really 3 we offer. One is an implant. We don't offer the Inspire implant, but we do offer a CPAP, which everyone knows is kind of the traditional. Partially CPAP is the reason why people don't solve sleep apnea because everyone doesn't want to sleep with a hose on their mouth, right? But what most people don't know is that oral appliances, there's something called a mandibular advancement device, MAD. It's an oral appliance that pushes your bottom chin forward and opens your airway.
Hmm.
That's FDA approved to solve sleep apnea as well. That's a much less invasive thing for someone to wear. You can take it on the go. The third is of 2024 because BMI and weight and sleep apnea are directly correlated, right? The higher BMI, the more likely you have sleep apnea. So GLPs are also FDA cleared for as a treatment for sleep apnea. So we also provide that. So our physician will give you the options. We then provide those, as well as because you're a poor sleeper, you can also opt into supplementation and everything we talked about for the first 50 minutes of this podcast, which is personalized on sleep quality insomnia, which is what we do at MD Bio really well and have done for 5 years. So this adds that last component so that we can holistically solve sleep completely. Again, within 10 days, opposed to months and months. And again, for 219, opposed to, thousands of dollars seeing all of these specialists.
So everything is included in that 219.
Correct. Outside of the treatment, because we don't know what your treatment might be. But
Right.
all of the diagnosis, the testing, seeing the physicians, walking through
Yeah.
the personalization, that's all 219.
Incredible. You just put those poor 7,500 doctors out of business. Good job.
A lot of actually, a lot of
Sign up
them,
for your telehealth.
a lot of them actually sell Sleep Corner now.
Oh, good.
Because for them, getting through this is the hardest part. And
Right.
then the treatment modalities they work on with the patient. So
Yes.
we work hand in hand with them.
Very
ENTs,
nice.
pulmonologists. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Congratulations. I love kind of where this all migrated to. You really are flipping the script on the nutraceutical industry. Like you just didn't stay with the brand. You went with the study, you went with validity. You proved out everything that you're saying, and now you're extending it into a telehealth service to solve probably the major issue of our society. Probably
Yeah.
next to undiagnosed or mistreated, right, with the wrong medication, mood
Yeah.
disorders, sleep, anxiety, pain, top 3 that most people either have claims on their insurance for or on medications for. So thanks so much for
Yeah.
everything you're doing for our side, which we love.
Yes.
Any final words you want to leave with our consumers who are listening?
I think that's it. I think that the one piece is just it can feel I think what we know when we talk to our customers is treatments feel scary. Going through this is you've tried everything, you've done everything. That's the number one thing. I mean, 1 in 3 people have a sleep issue, right? So everyone knows someone, if not yourself, that has a sleep issue, and it's just been such a broken system along the way. And so
Yeah.
all we're trying to do is simplify that, make it very easy to say, look, this product is effective and safe and works, and this is how you go get a diagnosis, and we can finally solve sleep in a very easy way. So that's our message. That's what we try to do, and that's what we've invested a lot of money and time into doing, is to make just a better patient experience and a simple fast track.
Love it. So the links to everything we talked about today are going to be in the show notes. Make sure that you go opt in if you want to do the 10-day trial. If you know somebody, if you're like me and you're beating your husband through the night saying, "You're not breathing, wake up." They need Sleep Corner. So
Yes.
you've gained a new patient today, Brendan. Thank you for your time.
Perfect.
Thank you, everyone,
Thank you,
for
Tracey.
joining us here at this podcast. And if you found it beneficial, don't forget to subscribe, give us a like, and make sure you send it to somebody who it can benefit. God bless.